to Psalm 42. We are in our 9th month of doing the Psalm study. So for those of you that might just be joining, no worries. You can get caught up or not caught up, or just do it at your own pace. All of the doodles are available over on my website, praiseheart.net, under Psalm study. You see here that I'm laying in a tree, and I sort of have a thought after a little bit of a while that that tree is just too small. If a deer, a fawn, is so little, that tree would be nothing more than a sapling. So here I'm coming back in and kind of saying, wait, I want the tree to be bigger so that the fawn looks smaller. So here I'm extending that trunk up so that the deer starts to become more precious, more little, more vulnerable. So that was what that whole thing was about there on the side. So when I'm laying in the bark of my tree, I do dry in between layers. Otherwise it will all just mush together. So I have to get all of that dried up. Otherwise it will just keep on running on top of each other. So here I'm drying it all in. And in my tree trunks, I do add a little bit of green, a little bit of like a Payne's gray. And if you don't have that, you can sort of mix black with a little bit of blue in it and sort of get that gray wash. So I, in my bark, add in the greens, the grays, the blacks, to get some depth of texture there. So usually I don't lay in my background first, but I want to add leaves to this tree, so I have to get some blue in beforehand so that I can put the leaves on top of that blue. So really, when you're working in any kind of medium, you kind of have to plan out what you're doing and what comes first, second, and third, and kind of have a plan going in. So I had to pick a little fawn for Psalm 42 because that's such a often quoted scripture. As a deer pants by the water, so my soul pants for you. Of course it doesn't say that in this translation, the Passion Translation, but I think that's the one that everybody kind of knows and quotes. So I had to figure out a deer. So I am hoping that through the doodle sheets that this little guy is obtainable for everybody to be able to doodle and everybody to be able to draw. Really think about breaking it down into shapes. Take one shape at a time. Don't try to draw the whole thing. Draw one shape, get it right, and then go on to the next shape, just like in the doodle sheets. So you see here I am adding in the darkest dark of the tree, because what was happening was the fawn and the tree were really like the same exact color, and I didn't want that to be. So I had to darken up that tree so that the fawn, I don't know, it just looks even more innocent up next to the darker tree. So laying in all the hooves and getting in all those dark spots. Question for you guys as you are going through this study with me. I know that some of you might not be, I'm just adding my shadows in there. I know that some of you guys might not be over on the Facebook page. We are almost at 2,000 likes, so come on over. I'm so grateful for every one of those 2,000 likes that are on the Facebook page. I love doing this journey with you guys. Is there something that you would like to see? Is there something that you would like to explore? Is there something that you want to know how to draw? Please drop me a comment below, because then I can try to sort of just wait for the psalm to match the things that you guys want to explore, So I kind of just do the best I can each week and try to make it so that any drawing that I do is obtainable and can be done by anybody that does the doodle sheet. But I don't know what you guys want to do, so drop me a note and let me know what works for you. Let me know what doesn't work for you. Please be nice in the comments. I'm humbly accepting constructive criticism on what to do as we come into the fall. I know that the summers are kind of slow and everybody's coming and going and doing this and doing that, but as we're coming into the fall, what do you guys want to see? What do you guys want to do? I'm adding in there, that is I've created a creamy gouache there, that those spots and all are going to be done with the gouache so that it's a little bit more opaque and not so transparent. So just trying to add in, rough them up a little bit and give a little bit of texture, because they are a little bit fluffy. The fawn is just a little bit more fluffy than its mom or its dad. So just trying to add in just that little bit of innocence and fluff to his or her fur. So that up there is adding a little bit of pink in the ear. I think the pink, even if it's not real obvious, it just adds some innocence. Just popping in a little bit of pink adds to that innocence. There, when I was doing the ear, I was trying to really drop that shadow, the pigment, on my brush. So my pigment is loaded. I wanted to drop it into that crease of that ear and keep the paint there. So here I'm just dropping in some leaves. And just kind of getting in there and just using the color and just dropping in just a freeform kind of pattern of that good spring kind of foliage. Here I'm adding in just sort of like some wild grass with some just straight lines up and down, straight lines up and down. Dry, because you can actually see the grass, the pooling of that paint there. You see it as it's going up and down. So really, I know I say this every week, I promise you I know it, but you have to dry in between on watercolors. You cannot go in and start painting in your upper left hand corner and work your way down and get the whole painting done. You have got to bounce around, you've got to dry, you've got to think it through. That's just the nature of watercolors, and until you just give in to that process, they'll fight you every inch of the way, and they'll win until you give in to the process of bouncing and drying. So here I'm just adding some little, I don't even know, weedy dots, like just pieces of green that would just add some texture, and adding a little bit of shadows into the grass, a little bit of shadows up in that tree, because underneath the branches, underneath the foliage, there's always a darker bit of gray. So this is actually like a Payne's gray again, between the green and the blue. I added the green, the blue, and the black to make a sort of a darker kind of color. I will come back in and lighten it up just a tad. It's a little bit too dark right there near the heart. I want that to kind of fade away just a little bit. So when you're drying, you kind of see that, you kind of think, oh, that's got to get kind of mellowed out a little bit. So I think I'm going to, I think it's water next. Really, truly, there was a lot of paint on there. There's a lot of paint. There's a lot going on in the tree. There's a lot going on in the water. And you can see that my page is not wrinkly, absolutely at all. So if you are wrinkling, you are using too much water and not drying, because your paper is almost like begging for mercy if it's wrinkling up like that. So if you just slow down and dry in between, I promise you will not get wrinkly pages. Somebody else asked me about, I just forgot what I was going to say. I don't know, somebody asked me something, but I forgot what it was. So, about shading, I think it was. So remember, always watch that I start with my lightest color, and I do a general, wash all over with that light color. Here, let me just stop what I'm saying. I didn't like where it was on the bottom there, and by using my sable brush, I'm able to just go in and suck up that paint again. So the sable brush truly acts like an eraser as well. So shading, when you're shading, go in with your lightest color and then come back in once it's dry and pop in your shading. And that's how you really get it to look three-dimensional and really just kind of pop. So here I wanted to come in with a color pencil, and I will give that little chest a little bit of a ruffled edge, because they are kind of like fluffy, fuzzy, and just outlining some of the places, some of the spots here, and giving just a little bit of definition on our little fawn. Here comes the black. That's just a black colored pencil. And I do think that just adding in those little bit of details kind of just gives it the pop that you need, and it just makes that little guy stand out apart from the tree, apart from everything else, and he truly becomes or she becomes the focal point of the piece at that point because of those lines. So I'm just going to add in the words this week with the black pencil. And because that little guy is so sweet, that fawn, I'm just putting it in sort of like a very childish kind of font. So that really is going to wind up Psalm 42 for us. Please do go into the comment section and let me know what you